And greetings. Welcome to the Long in the Boot podcast. After much finagling with buttons and slides, I am your host. I am your host, G Long, joined as always across the way by Deb.
Hello, all.
How you doing, Deb?
I'm doing all right. It's been hectic. It's been a little hectic.
It's been a crazy 2 weeks, and especially a crazy last couple days. By the way, if you'd like to get a hold of the Long in the Boot podcast, of course, as always, that's the website. Yeah. Tridub.longintheboot.com.
Yeah.
Most recent episode will always be able to be found there.
And all the past.
And all the past episodes as well. You can also email us at longintheboot@gmail.com. And the phone number for you adventurous types, it's 337-502-9011. You call that number, you can pretty much say whatever you want.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tempting. Some people like to be heard as opposed to read.
You can even say the word moist.
You can.
And I won't get upset.
Just not in front of one of my first hour students.
Yeah, we do have I've had students in the past that had a real issue
absolutely.
with the,
some people, that's not a fetish because it doesn't excite them. They're not happy about it. They do not like the sound of the word.
That's true.
On the website, it's being updated and evolving. And recently, we did get an about page with a little bio on everybody, including Bella and Otto.
Yes.
Otto wanted to be very vocal on his bio about his worker rights issues. I told him he was allowed to mention it, but he had to keep
terrible.
it. Yeah, he was really kind of forceful about it.
You know, I'm starting to think maybe he's got communist undertones.
I'm starting to feel like that. I think the little dachshund in him, the little German, is coming out a little
Marxism,
a little too much. Maybe so. He hasn't been feeling his best lately, so he might have been a little grouchy the day I made him do that.
Yeah, he has been getting grouchy.
I did interview though, and
he's old.
Yeah, so.
But he can be replaced.
No, they are never replaced. They're always in our hearts, and then they end up in our backyard.
Well, there you go.
In our little memorial pet garden.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So
on the website.
What?
We were going to say, if you've got a craft, you got something you want to promote, anything like that, please let us know. We'll be happy to put it up there for you.
Happy to spread
on our friends page.
Yes, spread the wealth, spread the news of your product or your skill.
As long as it's legal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we seem like the type that are going to be
sketchy,
dallying in illegal adventures?
I hope not.
If we are.
Is that the image we put off?
I hope not. No, I don't think so at all. If we do, you might need to let us know, and we might need to recraft our image.
And finally, also, the house right now, this week is full of longs.
For the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All the longs are in the boot.
That's right. And currently, some of those longs are off.
We sent them away so we could spend some time with you guys.
Yes.
With you all.
The community.
Our community, yes. Yeah, okay, so our community, if you're local, you know that we've been experiencing another weather hell. Recently, the Weather Channel voted Lake Charles the most weather-battered city in the country.
Number one. Way to go, Lake Charles.
I then read another story. The headline was Luckless Lake Charles. So
Luckless Lake Charles.
The whole country. We wanted them to know about our plight. Well, they know now.
That's right. And if you're from another part of the country and you want to help, just make your check out to Long in the Boot.
Long in the Boot.
Actually, if you did that, I would just donate it to some charity.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We've already donated to some local churches, and friends have pulled together. And
friends from all over the place.
Anyhow, okay, so we just recently had another flood.
Yeah, water.
So that's actually our second flood, and we had a freeze. 4 days we were out of school. 4 days recently for flooding. Our road went under.
Flooding.
So now I'm starting to formulate a theory that we had flood, freeze, flood, hurricane. So maybe we're getting these in like alphabetical.
Oh, you're thinking like letter pairs?
Yeah. Well, so we skipped I, and then we have 3 Fs. We have 2 H's.
So the next would be like mudslide and meteor.
Well, yeah. Okay. Mudslide and meteor. Yeah, that's a possibility. I thought J might be next. Like if we skipped one letter and went straight to
What's
J.
the disaster for J?
I don't know. I'm still formulating that theory.
See, like
Jesuits. Maybe we're going to have a bevy.
We could have an earthquake, but then I don't know what
and an earthworm.
Electrical outage.
Oh, we've already had that.
Yeah, we had that
That comes with all the other stuff.
Well, it just happens.
All right. So
enough of that.
Enough of all that. Weather.
You don't want to hear about the weather. What you want to hear about is
they're living it.
What you want to hear about is what we talked about in our video, which is fetishes.
Did we tempt you?
Are you tempted?
Are you tempted?
Are you feeling randy?
All right. So after our last episode,
by the way, if you're hoping for like really, really nasty stuff, we're not going to really get too graphic.
Oh no, we decided.
If you're worried,
we decided after
you got your hands over your kids' ears right now, they'll probably be mostly okay.
Just like Teachers Breaking Bad, we're leaving out the really dirty
I suggest
stuff.
that you just simply, do the judgment yourself. Perhaps listen to it, and if it's okay, then,
Well, then listen to it again.
Play it for your kids.
I don't even go back and listen.
Yes.
Although I do sometimes.
Play the fetish episode for your children. That's what they need. Get them off those silly devices and put them on a device.
Isn't your goal to educate?
I suppose so, but I prefer to educate people
adults?
that I don't have to limit myself too much.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, fetishes. What are they?
Well, on the last episode, when we were doing the Teachers Breaking Bad, and we had the serial pooper, and the more I thought about that guy, he was obviously well educated. So why didn't he just bring a doggy bag to pick up his own poop? If it was going to be a biological, like if his argument was that he couldn't help himself and some people just need to crap when they run, then just carry some little doggy bags and pick that shit up.
Literally.
Yes, pick that shit up and throw it in a trash can.
You're right. We do it for our dogs.
Yeah, no. So my theory then is that he
wanted to do it.
Well, yeah, he was at another school, wasn't he? He wasn't at his own school.
He was at another school district, in fact.
Yeah. So see, he knew what he was doing. That little nasty man. So there's a fetish right there.
That's actually that's common.
Scatology.
Yeah, it's common in a lot of these things that I've been looking at, especially weirdly enough in the German history.
Yeah, those Germans.
There's a saying that the English humor is in the living room and German humor is in the bathroom.
In the toilet.
And I've also heard that English humor is in the bedroom. German humor is in the bathroom.
Okay. So that story plus the Asians with the panties. That was too.
Yeah, that was also
that's
weird.
That's kind of how this evolved into this topic, because we decided, we might as well continue.
Like we said, we did research with interest.
We did.
It was actually quite interesting, and man,
we had a hard time not talking to each other about the stuff we were finding.
Well, weirdly enough, I've got way more material than I could possibly talk about in one episode.
Oh, absolutely. That usually is the case, and then we kind of scatter.
Some of the famous people in history are some seriously messed up individuals.
People you don't want to think about doing those things.
Many of them.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. All right. So let's begin with the definition, just the general definition, psychology, fetishism, sexual deviance involving erotic attachment to an inanimate or ordinarily asexual object or part of the human body. So an object that's not, sexual in ordinary circumstances, or a part of the human body that we don't normally consider sexual. The term itself came from anthropological writings in which the word fetish, also spelled fetish, referred to a charm thought to contain magical or spiritual powers, which, interestingly enough, synonyms for the word fetish, actually, that's some of them: charm and talisman, juju. Juju, a totem, an icon, idol, any of those things. And then, of course, you've got obsession, compulsion, mania.
Ooh,
yes, a weakness or a fancy. Fancy doesn't seem to have the same negative connotation. Oh, I fancy a nose, or I fancy a turn of an ankle.
I fancy a well-turned ankle.
Exactly, or hang up. So we start there, not really overly sexual, but they view it that way. So Sigmund Freud, of course, is, what do we say about Freud? A mental condition that's defined as a necessity to a non-genital object in order to achieve gratification. So could be a body part. Shut up, Bella. No, it's true. Oh, Bella's Bella's like calling me on this.
I should tell you now, she is not a fan of the Freud school of psychology.
Oh, she thinks he's a hack.
Yeah, she does.
All right. Well, mostly men. Freud decided, the object could be a body part, article of clothing, less frequently some more impersonal object. It usually occurs exclusively among men, and most of the objects used relate to the female body or clothing, hair, the foot. Freud first came about this with a patient who wasn't there because of a fetish. Usually they don't think it's not a problem.
It's amazing how often Freud's patients seem to suddenly have some kind of sexual hang-up.
That he discovers as he questions. It turns out the first guy, it was noses. Noses that brought that about for this gentleman. And Freud, so olfactory smells.
Oh,
smells
that comes up. That
came
comes up a little bit later. Oh yes, oh yes.
I'm sure. So that first guy, it was all about the noses, and I don't know what it was about noses that intrigued him. But Freud's issue was that men, the first time they see a vagina, have this castration fear, right? So that's why it's almost exclusively male perversions. It originates in the child's horror, the boy's horror of female castration. They're confronted with the mother's lack of a penis, and then they disavow this lack of a penis, and they find an object as a symbolic substitute for the mother's missing
I think Freud was projecting because kids in the past grew up in a way that they knew
they saw
animals. They saw animals. They understood that there were two different sexes.
Well, Freud
back then, not to say there's not more now, but
there probably
I don't want to be canceled.
Now. Well, we have a lot more objects now.
Sure.
And a lot more visual.
I don't think that all men have a fear of castration. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be castrated. I'm not afraid of it.
But you weren't frightened by
I don't think it's just going to suddenly happen.
Well, because usually I think boys would, shower with their mothers.
If you're out there thinking about marrying someone with the last name of Bobbitt or Lorena, you should have a healthy fear of getting castrated.
Our audience may be too young for the Bobbitt.
Yes.
But that term, Bobbittization,
Lorena Bobbitt, of course, the famous story of her cutting off her husband's fun and then fleeing in a car with it.
Yeah.
And throwing it out the window.
It was the chase and then the subsequent throwing that, really set that off.
You know what happened, though? The car behind her, when it hit the car behind her on the windshield, and the first thing the guy said was, "Man, did you see the Johnson on that bug?"
Are you going to... Wow. I knew you were about to.
I'm so glad I got to use that.
Why didn't you use the other term? That man's name, Dick. I think it's funnier when you tell the joke with.
Yeah. Is that right?
It is. It's funnier.
Oh, okay.
Dick is funnier than Johnson. If we're going to talk about euphemisms.
Well, I just, I like...
And I do like to talk about euphemisms.
You like to talk about euphemisms.
I do. We should do a whole episode of euphemisms.
Oh, man, that would be a good...
that would be interesting. All right. Well, something to think about.
Anyway, so Freud...
may show
Freud,
up.
Also his stage name, Fraud.
Ziggy.
Siggy. Yes, he liked corn dogs.
I'm sorry, audience. I don't know where he's going with all this. All right. So from Freud, then we move on.
Let's go to the past.
The past. Well, we are in the past. We're going to go pre-Freud.
Pastor.
Pre-Freud.
Yes.
All right. Pre-Freudian. How far back you?
They didn't have answers back then. Actually, I'm going to go all the way back to. We'll start with good old Martin Luther.
Oh.
The original Martin
Protestant.
Luther, the man who kick-started the Protestant Reformation into high gear there in Germany. And he had some issues. And weirdly enough, if you research Martin Luther, one of the things you find out is when he was growing up, and of course we're going to use his own recollections, he was spanked constantly by his mother, beaten in some cases with a rod. And
so that shouldn't be pleasurable.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't turn into
It's not about pleasure always, though.
Well, no. You think of religious fflagellance. I mean, that's
kind of where.
Yeah, I think that might be.
And it was a very harsh upbringing.
We're back to the Jesuits.
Well, no, he was against Jesuits. Anyway, Luther. It turns out, in Luther's own writings, he came up with a lot of his ideas while in the bathroom, and he was very Scheisse focused.
That's
poop for you and me. And it comes up a lot in his writings. It's really kind of strange, but it's also kind of fun. But I did some more research into this very quickly, and the reason he was in the bathroom a lot, two things.
Dysentery?
One, he was constipated all the time.
Oh, wasn't getting his fiber.
That's right. And it was one of the only places a monk could have a moment to himself.
Oh, yeah. All right. That's kind of like kids that have to go to the bathroom constantly.
Because they considered seeing each other while defecating it was distasteful to
unlike
them.
The Romans who
didn't care,
who would go and do it in groups
in stadiums
and discuss, though they got a lot accomplished in that that time too.
A lot of business.
Yeah, a lot of business.
Well, Luther got a lot of business conducted while he was doing his business as well. He said his holiest moments often came while he was seated on the privy. He said it was there while moving his bowels that he conceived the revolutionary Protestant doctrine of justification by faith. Wow. And he was horribly constipated, and apparently while they're
praying hard.
Yes.
Wrestle that turd.
He said, quote, this word justice, quote, justice of God was a thunderbolt to my conscience. And I soon had the thought that God's justice ought to be the salvation of every believer. All of this while in the privy.
All right. So had he been eating his fruits and veggies, maybe he wouldn't have stayed there long and that wouldn't have come to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that Luther continued writing about things, especially his battles with the devil that he would have in the bathroom. And he would talk about, there's a story that was written about how Luther got into an argument with the devil. And this is them talking, of course. And the devil...
He didn't write this down?
This was somebody later.
Oh, okay.
In the writings, it says the devil threw ink at Luther and Luther threw ink back. But in the original version, it wasn't ink. It was Scheisse.
Oh, okay.
The feces
Today
was the ammunition
shade.
Satan and his adversary employed against each other is clear from the rest of Luther's story as set down by one of his colleagues. He said, having been worsted, the demon departed indignant and murmuring to himself after having emitted a crepitation of no small size.
Oh, he threw a big turd at him.
Yeah, which left a foul stench in the chamber that everyone could smell for days.
Ooh.
Again and again, in recalling Satan's attacks on him, Luther uses the crude verb bescheißen, which describes what happens when somebody throws Scheisse
when the
at
shit
you.
hits the fan. Okay. He needed some potpourri.
They also continually mooned each other.
Really?
Yes.
And so do you think monks were wearing undergarments under their robes?
Honestly, I don't know.
Because if they weren't, then that would just make that an easy thing. And you know how guys are. I mean, even the religious just dwindle into the it's juvenile from time to time.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you're walking around free hanging under there. As
I was reading what Luther wrote, he talks constantly about inviting the devil to kiss or lick his butt. Now, in Middle Ages, saying to someone, lick my butt is the same thing as saying kiss my butt.
Yeah.
Now, you know.
So he didn't mean it literally.
At one point, this is a great quote. I'm going to use it because, gosh, it's pretty funny. He invited the devil to kiss his ass and threatened to throw him into my anus where he belongs.
Wow.
That's right.
He really is fixated, isn't he?
He was fixated. And it's a strange fetish.
Oh, no, I think it's very common now.
Well, it was common in German society. I was reading about how different schools of the church, this is later in the Lutheran era when they'd have different little sects of...
Sect.
Yes,
not sect.
Of this new Protestant religion.
Yeah. They
would constantly do pranks on each other. And one of the biggest pranks was to take Scheisse,
feces,
and put it on doorknobs of the other person's building.
See, that's what I mean. That's it. They were just hanging free under those robes. So they were mooning each other because it was part of a joke.
And, but
you know how men are when they get together.
Freud actually talks about this.
Well, sure. For him, I'm sure it's potty training.
It's potty training.
Yeah, it's all back to potty training.
Freud said this is all about, with the spanking involved too, everything is focused on the butt.
On the butt, yes.
And so it's a part of his problem being constipated. Freud said his probably was in the mind, and that
it's all in the butt. It's all in
that he, since he was a monk, it didn't manifest itself as a sexual thing.
Yeah.
But it was still a fetish. He fetishized.
Fetishized. Ooh, that's a hard one.
That is a hard word. Anyway, so yeah, Luther is one of the early examples of this particular fetish.
Somebody with a well-known name who's got a strange little.
Yeah, but think about it. He changed the world.
Yeah.
But he came up with many of his ideas while contemplating the restroom.
We're not going to come back on him now and go, well, because he was obsessed with this, we're going to disagree with everything he said. No,
we've moved way on from Luther. Okay. Although there are Lutherans still.
Well, but
they probably don't talk about that part of
Luther in his life. No, because he was still a man.
He was.
And obviously one who enjoyed the occasional joke.
And I'm going to go ahead and just say, a brave man. He took on the Catholic Church.
Did indeed.
And
wasn't like put to death. I thought many times in the history, teaching that in world history, there are several points.
If he wasn't hanging with the German princes, he'd have been put to death.
I was like, man, I can't believe they haven't come and killed him.
It's weird. He was invited to Rome.
And when they called him, he
was invited to Rome many times. He wouldn't go.
He didn't show up. I know. Isn't that amazing? I'm constipated. I'm sorry. I've got a little bathroom business I can't go. So. Okay, so
anyway, that's Luther. That's
you want to go from Luther.
Who of the many weird people we have would you like to talk about next?
Who indeed? Well, let's see.
I mean, if we can jump back and forth in history, or we can go
from Butte to feet, or we can.
Well, feet, the foot thing is kind of modern in a way.
Well, it is and it isn't. I have
along with the feces thing, we can also talk about farts.
Oh, you want to go? Well, then we stick
Joyce.
To the same body part because I've got foot stuff back to 1220 AD in writing.
Well, let's talk about foot stuff, and we'll bring it up to,
and then we'll move back up to flatulence.
Or we can just brush a few others real quick before we go into a more in-depth kind of thing. Like we can jump around. One of the things is how about H.G. Wells?
All right,
the author H.G. Wells, famous author of War of the Worlds. Amongst other things.
Amongst others, yes.
His kink, which I think is actually kind of cool, is...
Is this something you want to try?
Apparently, he liked to take bad reviews and lay them out on the bed before he would engage in relations with his woman.
Oh.
And this was apparently quite often.
So he felt like power in over the words of others who criticized him. He felt...
Yes, and he after the act was consummated and they would get up, he would take all of the reviews and then they would burn them together.
Oh, with their DNA on it.
Well, we don't know that. We assume.
Well, if they did it right,
we assume.
If they did it correctly, there's DNA. If there's no DNA, somebody made a mistake somewhere in the process.
Another writer, Hans Christian Andersen,
I
committed the Sin of Onan. Often
spilling his DNA.
Yes. Now here's the weird part. He was completely unnerved by anything having to do with women, sex.
Okay.
He eventually visited a brothel in his life when he was 61.
Wow. That was the first time they documented. I mean, who's writing this stuff?
First time it was documented. He had to go to a doctor one time because he was creating calluses where you don't want them.
Oh.
Ow.
Well, you know what? That's a safety issue, though, too. If there's a lot of, I don't want to talk about the foot stuff
apparently, if
yet.
you get a copy of his diary, every time you see a small cross-like mark, that was another incident of pleasuring himself.
And there were lots of them.
Well, here's the best part. When he went to the brothel and paid his money, and he saw the girl, he said he could just look at her and feel sorry, and he left.
Like the little match girl. Some of his stories just traumatized me as a child.
Well,
because that was all of my early books were when I lived in Germany.
So that's not really it's not a fetish exactly, but it is kind of odd.
It is odd.
To throw that in there.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Casanova preferred feet to vaginas.
Well, there
Casanova,
you go.
the man known as the lover, and he would
he wrote about it.
Yeah, that's true. But he preferred a a foot.
What if he was just good at marketing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe so.
I can go into, if we're on this particular topic, we can go a little bit in depth on Jean-Jacques Rousseau.
I know that Gandhi, after he had sworn celibacy, would tempt himself by sleeping with a bevy of naked women. I
actually have something about this. Do you have something about this?
Well, I did. I mean, I read it. I don't have it in front of me. I'm just, I dally on the surface. Just the tip, Mr. Long, just the tip.
Oh my, I'm going to have to put the explicit thing on this episode, I think.
Why? What's wrong with the words just the tip?
Stop it, Mrs. Long.
So no, I'm not Deb. Now I'm Mrs. Long.
That's right.
I'm in trouble, community. I am in trouble.
What are you up to, Mrs. Long?
About 5'1". You can tell your bad jokes. Thank you.
Okay. Gandhi apparently slept next to lots of naked women over the years.
He had, earlier in his life, he was married.
Including
he had 4
some
children.
of his own relatives.
But he wasn't having sex because he was celibate. This was his attempting.
Right. He would make them get naked.
Yeah.
Including his own grandniece. Even when the other women in the ashram were forbidden to sleep next to their own husbands,
they could sleep under
Gandhi would sleep next to his naked physician, his grandnephew's wife, etc., etc., all out in the open. But because he was Gandhi, no one could say anything. He claimed that none of it ever was sexual.
In sex. Yeah. That's what I got too.
He claimed that, in fact, he had not seen a naked woman because he would close his eyes.
Oh, he never peeked.
Yeah.
All right, Gandhi.
Yeah. And he never lied either.
Bella, where are you? You need to bark now. Bark now, Bella.
That is kind of weird, though.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Gandhi.
So Gandhi. Let's go back. Rousseau.
Okay. Rousseau. Well, yeah. Rousseau's a good one.
The blank slate.
Well, this is more back to Freud because this problem that Rousseau had manifested itself because.
Well, wait, was it a problem?
Well, probably not. He's well remembered, but if you go and read his stuff, he's got some weird. He gets some weird erotic charges out of some really weird
strange things that shouldn't.
But he was another one that was beaten a lot when he was young.
Okay, so this is another.
Or I say spanked.
So maybe this is another argument for not whipping your children.
Oh yeah, maybe. Well, certainly not whipping.
Not during potty training.
Certainly not whipping them like a lot of people would get spanked. Like you grab somebody, a kid, they would sit down, grab the kid, put him over their lap, and then proceed to spank them
that way. Yeah, okay.
That's probably not a good idea, as it turns out. His autobiography, Confessions. Rousseau had several things actually that fit into there. One of those was he was a submissive.
Okay.
He liked to be dominated by women. Mm-hmm. He liked to be at the knees of a strong woman. He liked to be given orders. He liked to be forced to beg her pardon.
All right.
He says, for all of these have been for me the sweetest delights.
So not about sex. It's just simply those.
Yet, he is considered to be a masochist who was ahead of his time. What he wanted from women was the thrill of being reprimanded or reproved without any physical contact.
So he didn't even want to engage.
The erotic charge all the more intense for being withheld.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is a common malady. I don't know if
he also, in his later years, would go out walking at night and moon people.
Back to that.
Yes.
So that's just the revealing of yourself in.
Well, I think it's connected for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, maybe he was inviting people to spank his butt and they just didn't hear him. Would you spank me, please?
Come over here. Do you like what you see? I hadn't read a story of this in a couple of years, but there were several years where there were a lot of stories of people who would go into libraries and reveal themselves.
Huh.
Libraries.
Okay. Well,
it was a specific location.
In a weird fetish kind of way. You're supposed to be quiet and demure.
And people in there trying to be educated and apparently.
Right. We're just going to have to ignore them.
I know.
So,
and I'm not lying. It's true. There were a lot of libraries.
She's wrong.
A lot
She's
of library
not doing her
pervs.
job very well.
Yeah.
Rousseau wrote that as a very young man, he already knew that he liked being spanked.
Oh, okay. So he was owning.
He enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And in fact, a female governess who was spanking him one day realized that he was
enjoying it
a bit too much.
Yeah.
And she actually quit her job.
Oh, she said no more of that.
So now my question is, did she quit her job because he was sexually aroused or because she couldn't spank him anymore?
Well, then you have to, that's her hang up.
Right.
Yeah.
What they needed was a governess who enjoyed spanking little boys.
Well, that's not all that odd. Yeah. All right.
Going out at night and mooning people.
Well, all right.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, it's Rousseau. Boo. Boo.
Yeah, I'm sorry again, audience.
We apologize.
I feel like you started it.
Sorry.
You started it. All right. So from let's go ahead and go to the flatulence then. If we're still on, if we're still on the rear.
Oh, I've got good stuff here about James Joyce. Oh my goodness.
Because we know South Park tells us quite often that a certain type of human enjoys the smell of their own farts.
Well, according to South Park, first of all, raging liberals enjoy it.
Enjoy the smell of their own farts.
In fact, they apparently, according to South Park,
put it in a glass.
Put it in a wine glass and taste it.
Imbibe it through their olfactory senses. Oh, well, we're back to the nose again then.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That brings us right to James Joyce. He was an Irish author, for those of you who don't know, and he had a wife named Nora, who he liked a lot, and he especially liked her brand.
Oh, okay. Rousseau, Joyce wrote about her brand, not so much in his famous writings.
I have to read the quote because
yes, please do.
And some of it I can't read. Actually, this letter
you'd have to go. All right, audience, if you want to get down and dirty, you really have to go read the whole thing yourself.
Absolutely. Look up the letters of James Joyce to Nora. And be prepared to blush, maybe. Anyway.
No, not our audience. Our audience can hang.
Anyway, quote, I think I would know Nora's fart anywhere. I think I could pick hers out in a room full of farting women. It is a rather girlish noise, not like the wet, windy fart, which I imagine fat wives to have. It is a sudden, dry, and dirty fart, like what a bold girl would let off in fun in a school dormitory at night. I hope Nora will let off no end of her farts in my face so that I may know their smell also.
Wow.
I know,
He's
right?
Very verbose.
Oh, the letter is just...
Okay, wait. Who was this letter to? That wasn't...
His wife, Nora.
Oh, he was writing to her.
He was writing to his wife.
And speaking to her as Nora? Or
oh, yes.
Okay.
It gets really, really... pornographic.
Okay, well, we're not
going there.
We're at the tip. I told you. We're at the top of the iceberg.
Yeah, we're not going to go all the way in.
Underneath.
You had an arse full of farts that night, my darling.
So
these are quotes.
I wonder if they.
These are the quotes, folks.
It's not my words. That means, so did they think about dinner and stuff? Like if they were planning an amorous evening, did they like what asparagus has a famous effect on your urination smell.
Tell you what, baby.
So
later tonight, I'm going to read this letter to you. No. Oh, yeah.
I already read it. I know what it says.
The last line, though.
Do the last line.
What he asked, write me more about that and yourself, sweetly, dirtier and dirtier, my sweet Nora.
Oh, eggs. That's a pretty horrific odor.
What does that have to do with Nora?
Well, I'm just thinking about dinners and food and
like we're talking about farts?
Well, yeah, because he would have wanted her to eat things that would have created, more flatulence.
So what you're saying is they probably enjoyed legumes.
Yes. I'm thinking about their dinners and did they plan them and craft them in order to...
You ever think he tried to light one?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and say that that's a weird one.
What, lighting their farts?
No, just liking farts that much.
Because when the methane that was the first time I was like 12 and a friend of my dad's, we were in the front seat of the truck and we were at a drive-through and his friend lifted his leg and lit one. That girl dropped our bag of to-go and my dad just drove away.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was unplanned and shocking. I was just laughing my ass off. My dad was, like I said, he drove away. I don't even know if he paid. If he had paid and we left, that would have been even more impressive.
Let's see. Benjamin Franklin.
Grown men.
Benjamin Franklin, first off, would like to expose himself.
I know he was a ladies' man. He loved to go to France, and he was.
He did. He especially liked older women.
Yes,
that was
he did like
thing.
older. Well, he was.
But his fetish.
Nobody was going to get.
But
pregnant.
his fetish was to be naked, where people could see him.
Oh, Churchill too. Winston Churchill was like that.
Ben Franklin, of course, famously had his shutters on his house, and in the mornings he would open them up wide, sit in a chair naked, where everybody walking by could see him. He called them, "Oh no, I'm not flaunting anything. I'm taking an air bath."
He's a breatharian.
Yeah, sure, Ben.
It's okay.
Like he didn't know what he was doing.
No, he was a very intelligent man. Of course he knew what he was doing.
He absolutely was really big about older women, and in fact wrote a book, a long pamphlet, Advice to a Young Man on the Choice of a Mistress.
And number one, she's not going to get pregnant. You're not going to have any babies, so you don't have to worry about that. So that's a big plus for older women. I'm out here. I'm pushing for that. Yay, older ladies, go.
And a lot of these things, according to Freud, as well as other psychologists, most of these things start in your childhood.
Yes, absolutely. And Freud, I don't think he was wrong about that, that somehow there's a connection. They usually, I think I read that at the age of 3, by the age of 3, you've been imprinted sexually.
Well, Descartes, Rene Descartes, I think, therefore I am Descartes.
Yes.
He said that as a child, he met a girl when he was like 4 years old. He met a girl who was slightly cross-eyed. The imprint made on my brain by the wayward eyes became so mingled with whatever else had aroused me in the feeling of love I had for her that from then on, when I saw a cross-eyed woman, I was breathless and desired simply that flaw.
Well, that's true. I mean, we know it now. A memory comes back to you. The emotions are attached to it. You have the emotions again.
Yeah.
So your brain doesn't know it's not happening again. So if he was stimulated by something in that encounter, all right. Yeah. And there's nothing weird about that.
No, I suppose not.
I guess it's just how weird are they? All right, people, don't let your children have really strange encounters when they're really young, because it might lead to some long-term baggage.
And by the way, we'll go to Mozart. I should have probably brought him up when I was talking about Luther. But he once wrote a piece. He did a musical piece called Lick My Ass, which again means kiss my ass.
Okay.
But in his case, looking at the other things he wrote, which I'm not going to read, I don't think he meant kiss.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
So Mozart.
Well, did he do that like in reference to maybe somebody had written a bad review? Or we could be back to reviews?
No.
Okay.
I'm looking at the lyrics to his work, and clearly that's what he meant.
I have a non-researched idea about autoerotic asphyxiation, people who enjoy strangulation.
Oh,
which has had some bad outcomes.
It's not researched, but there's a lot of good.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Well, one theory was, and they're saying about the 1600s, about the 17th century, that, the practice of hanging,
Public hanging.
Yes. People are hanged, curtains and horses are hung. So people would know. That's how you remember that.
Boo.
No, really, it is how you remember it.
Thank you, English teacher.
Possibly the notice that men who at the point of hanging, would get an erection and sometimes actually produce ejaculate from that erection, and then
that's where they used to think that was it mandrake? I think.
Oh, mandrake root.
I think that's where they thought it came from. At one time, they would look for it in sites of hangings. I believe that was.
Because of the seed spilled.
Yeah, because it's shaped. Is it mandrake that's shaped like a little man?
Yeah, it is.
When it grows, I think that's it. I recall. I recall reading that in some medieval documentation.
Oh, that's quite possible. I don't know. So their theory is just then that at that point, men went home going, "Huh,
I think it's mandrake.
Wonder why he got that at that point. Maybe we ought to give that a try." So that was the theory about how that began, and again, ended badly for many people because I guess lack of control. They think the topic of foot fetishes about 1220 AD.
She sure is acting like she knows an awful lot about this stuff. I know, like she knows so much
about this. I don't think she's only a year old. She doesn't know diddly, not diddly squat. So foot attraction about 1220 AD was the first time it came up in writings, and throughout the centuries, they noticed that topic was more in print, more people, I guess, doing it during outbreaks, STDs, syphilis, things like that. So staying away from what was the word? A weeping vagina. Yeah. Feet were better and cleaner. You weren't going to get something from.
You weren't going to get some horrible venereal disease from feet.
Everything in the world gave you some version of the plague, let alone the festering bog of some peasant's vagina. So feet were.
That's a nice quote there.
I know, thank you. Feet were a better option to,
Yeah, feet. Well, what's the worst you get? Athlete's foot, right?
Yeah. F. Scott Fitzgerald was a foot fetish kind of guy.
Yeah.
I already told you about Casanova.
And not to mention what the Chinese people did to feet to make them small, the whole foot binding thing.
I think that's power and control. That's not.
It's still got to have some kind of, well, even if it is power and control, it still fetishizes it because the reason they did it, one of the reasons they did it was to make them walk a certain way.
Yeah, so that's
fetishizing
I guess
feet
it is.
in a violent kind of way. Yeah. By the way, Mandrake, one other belief. No. They used to believe that when you pulled Mandrake, you could hear the final scream.
Well, yeah, that's why they did it in Harry Potter.
Yeah, so that's what that was in Harry Potter, if you were wondering.
Necrophilia. That's why they think vampire stories became so, because that idea that you'd have somebody lifeless and.
Well, I like what in England they would tie a dog to a piece of Mandrake root. While it was still in the ground. No, let's listen.
Oh, the root. Okay.
Yeah, they would give him a lead. The person would then walk away and then call the dog. And when the dog would run, the Mandrake would be pulled and you wouldn't hear the scream. Oh. Because they believed that if you heard the scream, you would be cursed.
Okay.
Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's a little odd.
Speaking of feet, go back to feet.
Okay, go back to feet.
Because there's something that a lot of people may or may not know. Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
They've talked about it a million times, and it comes up in every movie.
Well, I was going to say, you don't even have to, any fool can see that he focuses on the female star's feet.
Well, he never answers the question. When reporters ask him about it, he never really answers the question. He says, I think my movies speak for themselves.
Well, then he's telling you
flat out.
Yeah, he likes a foot. And
apparently he likes them a little bit dirty.
I said that was like gross in that Hollywood movie. He really.
Oh, in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the bottom of her feet when she puts them up on the dash.
She was a dirty hippie, though.
But even in Pulp Fiction, Mia's feet are dirty.
Because they're walking barefooted. So there's something about barefooted or clean.
Or in another movie.
No, you're thinking about the vampire.
I was thinking about the other Uma Thurman movie, Kill Bill.
Oh, Kill Bill, yeah.
When she had to wiggle her toe and how long he focused on her feet for that shot.
Yes.
I mean, that went on forever.
So he's taken his fetish and run with it and actually made some.
Well, I was reading a critic, though, who said that his foot fetish, if you watch closely, he uses scenes from other movies because he's a big cinephile. He knows scenes from movies that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And so when you see a scene with feet in a Quentin Tarantino movie, you can almost guarantee that if you looked, you could find that same scene in another movie. That he would
copy it in. Oh, okay.
Like in Jackie Brown, the girl was painting her toenails and she had rings on all of her toes.
Yeah.
And that's from a French film from the 1920s.
Oh, okay.
And it's the same shot. I mean, literally with the cup and the liquid in it next to her feet, it's the same.
He shot, or image for image. They did a duplicate.
He drank, of course, he drank tequila off of Salma Hayek's foot and Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
So clearly.
Well, at least her foot was clean. It looked nice.
Yeah.
It was sexy.
Then he destroyed a foot in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Did he though?
Poor Miss Hammersmith.
So when you move it into the modern age, we embrace the fetishes.
Yeah, well, that's true. Sigmund Freud, by the way, first guy to define the foot fetish.
We're going back to fetish.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Fetishism.
Well, no, I mean back to Freud, not fetish.
Yeah, well, he keeps coming up because he's kind of the guy that coined a lot of these.
Well, yeah, because when he started realizing that his patients had these things that they didn't consider problems for them at all. Because
so did fetishes exist before Freud?
Well, yeah, but it just didn't affect their lives in a negative way. Like they weren't going to Freud because he liked noses, gave him some sort of gratification. You know, that wasn't the issue. Do you want to hear some of the sexiest women that have been voted sexiest feet that today in modern times?
You have nice feet, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We've talked about that before.
I know.
So you like feet?
No, I like your feet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But they have to be cute and
a nice little size 5.
Petite.
Yes, mon petite.
Yeah, I'm not. If you got big boat feet out there, don't get offended.
Oh, well, but see, there's somebody for that too.
There's probably a boat foot person
I'm
out
telling
there.
you. Okay, so Katy Perry apparently number 1. Katy Perry. Emma Watson. Emma Watson's on the list of sexy feet. Selma Gomez. Now, and I think those are all petite women, aren't they?
They are.
I think they are.
Well, no, wait. It is. Well, I don't know about that first one. What's her name?
Katy Perry?
Yeah, I don't know if she's petite or not.
I don't either.
I have no idea.
But didn't you
She looks really large next to Orlando Bloom.
Don't all women. Didn't you say that size 8 was the norm, like the average or something?
Apparently 8 is the average size foot.
Okay.
For women.
Oh, for women. Okay, so maybe. Well, yeah, because like not Mia Farrow. What am I saying? Mia Farrow.
Uma Thurman?
Yeah, Uma Thurman.
Mia.
It's because of Gatsby. We've been, we just read Gatsby and we've been watching the movie, so I've got Mia Farrow on the brain.
Did Gatsby have a foot fetish?
Gatsby just had a daisy fetish, and that was it, and that was his fatal flaw. That man just let that woman go.
Well, it's not like somebody's going to shoot him or something. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, Ariana Grande.
Oh, sorry, spoiler.
Yeah,
Gatsby gets shot. Okay, go ahead.
Those kids. Taylor Swift's on the list of feet. Kim Kardashian, Miley Cyrus. I know. I'm looking at the list of 23 Hollywood stars, and they're all women that I would be like, meh. Kristen Stewart, Kylie Jenner. I don't even know who Miranda Cosgrove is.
I don't either.
Okay. I'm going to stop because I don't know the rest of these women, and that's
so. What about Caitlyn Jenner?
Says something about me.
What kind of feet does she have? Big giant boat feet, I'll bet.
Marathon running feet. That's what.
Well, no, decathlon.
Sorry. Yeah, again. That would have been the true hero. The true heroic thing to do would have been to come out in the 70s when he was.
Well, the feet weren't big enough to hit that brake pedal before he rear-ended that woman and killed her.
No, you didn't go there.
I did. Sorry.
Well, I think that money just took care of all that. I think money took care of all that situation.
Well, didn't take care of her.
Well, no, that poor lady died.
She was murdered.
She was murdered by Caitlyn Jenner.
Or manslaughtered.
Well, I know South Park seems to think it was Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. If you need to,
I gotta get some clips.
You need some South Park clips because Caitlyn Jenner.
Buckle up, buckaroos.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and if you're a fan of our show and you're not watching South Park, then you need to go back to season 1 and start from the beginning. Start from the beginning and
watch it evolve.
And watch it, yeah.
What a great testament to our times.
It's true social commentary. They are. Absolutely. They are the Voltaires of.
They are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I tried to find.
They would have been poisoned. They would have been put to death.
Well, do you think Henry VIII had a fetish? And his fetish was he liked to murder his wife.
He liked headless women.
They're all too tall.
All right.
I can fix it.
So what have we learned?
We've learned what a fetish is.
Well, we've learned that people in history who have, that are so famous for certain actions and events really are just human. Sure. And have the same foibles and
we haven't even gotten just past the surface of this stuff. Some of these celebrity fetishes.
Oh, the celebrity?
Are deep. Yeah, not celebrity, historic people.
Historic people. Yeah, I was going to say, because the celebrity ones are out there because people today don't have a problem talking about it because I guess it connects us.
And I left off some of the topics that I wanted to talk about because it just got to be too.
Randy?
No, not Randy.
Crass?
Just kind of ew.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't fun to talk about.
A little trashy motel.
Yeah, like Caligula, a good example.
Oh yeah, we don't.
He was really into gore.
Yeah, we don't need.
And I don't need that.
No, if we don't want to have a negative show, we don't want to go there.
No,
we want to stay on the middle of the road, sir.
The middle path.
The middle path, yes. And try to keep yourself happy. All right, so we're all people. Fetishes are okay. They don't harm your life.
As long as you're not causing harm.
Yeah, and everybody's okay with it, then it should be fine.
If you want to smack someone's hand with your butt, then it should permission. Be okay. As long as you get permission.
Today you might need a contract.
You probably should write something up.
It's like a Dave Chappelle skit. You need a actual contract.
Did you happen to notice which fetish was considered to be one of the most common fetishes?
Wasn't it feet?
Well, feet, yeah, but I mean
clothing.
Actually, was when I was doing the research, was apparently being choked is incredibly common. You had talked about auto asphyxiation, and not choked to the point of death.
On Archer,
just choked somewhat.
On Archer, she loves that. Not Pam.
Yeah.
What's her first name? Help me. Cheryl. There you go. Thank you. I had Pam in the head.
They call her both.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So they refer to that fetish all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot there.
But it's apparently exceedingly common for men and women. Yeah. All
right. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Don't see it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, fetishes. Weird.
I like my oxygen.
Right.
I like to breathe.
I don't want to be deprived of air.
No, that doesn't help me in any form at all.
No, thank you.
All right. So that and feet, top ones. I know clothing. And
there's got to be some we don't even know about.
Well,
like
the
really
clothing, the panties and outfits, dresses.
Oh, I know one. The creator. Wait, before we go, I can't not talk about this. Dan Harmon, creator of Community, co-creator of Rick and Morty, used to have a leg from a mannequin, and he would put pantyhose on it. He actually would change the pantyhose on the leg
with stockings and things,
which
like
I guess is like kind of a bonus because he can, he said he started having, he would go to stores and actually buy like silk stockings, really nice silk stockings to put on his
I don't even know. Do they still have pantyhose? I hadn't bought a pair of pantyhose in 30 years.
Got to be honest. Never worn them.
Never. Yeah, good. No Joe Namath in you. Okay, folks, I know you're younger than that, but in the 70s, Joe Namath wore pantyhose in a television commercial.
That's right.
Yeah. Because he was
a television commercial for razor blades.
Because he was comfortable.
No, it was for Nair.
Nair. He was comfortable with his masculinity.
Or was it for pantyhose?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
I just remember seeing
anyway, so we're talking about the old guy who's trying to get you to call about Medicare stuff.
Yes, now. But if you go back and look at his commercial, he had a nice leg.
This may surprise many of you, but when you're really old, you can go back in time and you're younger.
What does that even mean?
Well, I'm just saying it's kind of hard to picture Joe Namath now as the sex symbol that he was.
No, he was a hottie. I mean, I was just a kid, but I was like, all right, maybe that was why I like big men.
Okay.
Beefier.
Beefy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mr. Beefy.
I don't think it's a weird thing at all. Just call me Mr. Beefy. All right. Okay. So have we
scratched the surface.
The tip.
I encourage, that's right. I encourage everyone to do their research.
Sure, if you want to know more, because there's plenty more.
Would you like to know more?
If you would, the book of knowledge is there for you.
Yeah, go to DuckDuckGo.
Unless your electricity goes out.
I'd tell you to go to Google, but yes. Go to DuckDuckGo.
I think we passed that now.
They don't edit their stuff.
Okay, so real quick then, as we're wrapping up,
we are going to wrap up.
We're wrapping up because I can.
Now we just had Memorial Day, so I hope you had a great Memorial Day.
We have to work. We have one more week of school.
We do,
and I'm not begrudging that because we had an extra 4 days off a week and a half ago because of more flooding. So I don't expect my students to show up, but we're going to be there because we have to.
And we'd love to tell you what the next Long in the Boot will be about, but I got to be honest.
We haven't come up with that yet.
I don't even know.
Although there was something earlier we said that
didn't you write it down?
Piqued our interest. I didn't put anything in the book.
Some word,
euphemisms.
Euphemisms.
And we have talked about that before.
And I love isms as a group.
Speaking of that, Johnson. Do that real quick.
The presidential.
Yeah,
okay. A presidential thing.
Yeah, real quick one.
Well, he was. He was a proud man.
Johnson was a very proud man.
He was a proud man. He liked to show people his pride.
His Johnson.
Yes. Lyndon Johnson liked to show people his Johnson.
Well, did he have another name? Because Johnson seems so cliche.
He was a giver. He engineered the Great Society, which, who knows?
Giving.
He kept the Vietnam War rolling.
Yeah.
So good for him.
No, not good.
Apparently, he liked to have meetings in the bathroom.
Again, Winston Churchill also.
And I'm going to read the quote from a coworker because it's really the only way to do it. From a Pulitzer Prize book, by the way. If a colleague came into a Capitol bathroom as he was finishing at the urinal, he would sometimes swing all around, still holding his member, which he liked to call jumbo. Hooting, have you ever seen anything like this?
Wait, didn't Woody Harrelson play Lyndon?
One time when LBJ was questioned about why the U.S. was involved in Vietnam, he replied by pulling out his Johnson and saying, "This is why." Because
of jumbo. It was Woody Harrelson in the movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then, all right.
So this is why, because we have larger penises.
Because we have a jumbo.
Well, then can you explain how we managed to get smacked around so bad by the Vietnamese?
Boy, didn't we, though. All right.
So while he was contemplating swinging around his Johnson, the Vietnamese were simply continuing to fight the war.
Tunnels and just
so there you go.
Shaming us and making us flee in a helicopter in the middle of the night.
We got bigger machines and bigger bombs. Eventually, they'll just give up.
Yeah, well, it's their country.
Sorry, Lyndon. That's not how it's going to work.
Okay, so there we go. There's our delve into fetishes this week.
Wrapped it up with a presidential.
Wrap that rascal, people.
We didn't even bring up cigars and presidents. Weird.
Well, that's a little more modern than we were going to go.
Still okay. Weird.
Long in the Boot is currently giving away a Long in the Boot mug, a fine looking and coffee mug.
This coming Saturday
will be the end of it. So if you listen to the episode Wednesday, you need to go ahead and get on the Facebook page and like and share and say mug me.
Oh, you got to say mug me.
You got to say
mug me. If you don't say mug me, we can't. We can't enter you into the contest.
Can't put you in the contest.
And the picture of the microphone next to the mug, that's not part of the deal.
I told them.
I don't care. I'm emphasizing
You're not giving away the Yeti.
It's a Yeti mic, and no, it's not the same company that makes coolers.
No, it's better and older.
And way more expensive than a cooler.
I don't know. Those coolers are pretty damn expensive.
They probably have coolers that cost more than that.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
They probably do.
But I can do a lot with it, so.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't keep things cold with this microphone.
Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but all right.
I don't know. It fits on a desk.
It does. It's easier to haul.
Yeti cooler.
Yeah, it's easier to haul. Okay, there you go.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Long in the Boot community.
What a fun topic this was.
That was a fun topic. Oh, I will say one other thing that happened that I was really excited about. Monday was a crap day. It was just a crap day. But
you mean Monday before last?
Yeah. And when we left school, somebody had ducked our Jeep.
Oh, that's right.
And so there's a little fad going on, and there are enough Jeeps out there now. So I have my ducks, and I'm doing Halloween ducks because I'm a Halloween baby. So
here before long,
if you
Deb
have a
is
Jeep,
going to,
I'm going to be ducking some
looking
Jeeps.
around going, duck you, duck yous.
Yes. So I'm gonna make the grandkids help.
Basically, it's a little, the little rubber duck on the door
you put
handle.
Rubber ducks on people's Jeeps, and it makes them smile and laugh. And
so if you have a Jeep, please park it where we can see it.
And don't be scared of the duck.
And do not be scared. Apparently, some people get really angry about having a duck.
Some people throw the ducks.
It's a teeny tiny little rubber duck.
They think that there's some kind of you got to do something.
People are so stupid.
And the people that duck the Jeeps get upset. Like, why did he? I watched him and he threw it. So I'm not staying to watch you.
I'm not. Yeah, we're not going to stay and watch you from a distance.
If you toss my little vampire duck away, then
now if you were to take the duck and start, I don't know, French kissing it or something, and I see it.
I'm taking a picture.
Well, then I'm gonna talk about it on the podcast. What's going to happen? You're not going to believe what this guy did to the duck. Oh man, I didn't know he even fit in there.
So if you see a Halloween duck on your Jeep, that's me.
Yeah,
because that's my theme. My Jeep is a Halloween themed Jeep too.
Kind of, maybe.
Yeah, I have little Halloween accoutrements.
Little ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready to go, Mr. Long?
I think we are.
All right. Are you going to play the music again?
Well, again, one more time, website, TripDub.
TriDub. You don't even remember your own terms.
Whatever. It's longintheboot.com. And if you want to email us, longintheboot@gmail.com. And the phone number 337-502-9011.
Oh, and I put a little chat on the website, so you can also chat to us from there.
Well, say goodnight, Deb.
Good night, Deb.
There you go. Y'all take care. We'll catch you next time on the Long in the Boot podcast.
Bye.